Just give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready. Okay. Time starts now. In 2020, we have seen many issues come and go, some more serious than others. But one of the most serious issues is the amount of data breaches that have been in 2020. That have largely gone unreported and unnoticed. Did you know that as of 2020, Apple has had the biggest data breach in company history? This brings me to today's question. How can the US government help states combat cyber attacks? This is a complex question, so inevitably it has a complex solution. I seek to explain the solution in 3 parts. First, how the US federal government has an over-reliance on private companies to protect their data. Second, what decisions the US federal government needs to make in the status quo. And third, and most importantly, how not increasing the cybersecurity of the United States can have us vulnerable. So to first, how the US federal government has an over-reliance on private companies. Now, when we look at private companies and the separate from government, in our country, it is great. And that's one of the good things about our government. The government has little to no regulation over private companies. But one of the problems that relies in this is that most of the private companies make the technology we have in our homes today. If you walk around any average high schoolers or any average American's homes, you will see an Alexa, a Google Home, an Apple Home, a computer, maybe a light system they have in their room. I even have a light system in my room, but for some reason, my light system has a microphone. That means at any given point, if the house was to get hacked, or I would be a victim of a cybersecurity attack, that means anyone in my bedroom could listen to me and what I'm saying at any time. And that's a problem. But the same goes for those with an Alexa or a Google Home in their house. Anyone who has that inside their home can be a victim of a cybersecurity attack. There's a saying among IT developers. They say, I keep a loaded shotgun next to my HP printer just in case that thing becomes self-aware. Because they are so entrenched in their devices and how they work, and they know all the background of these things, that they know at any point someone could sit outside your house and monitor every single thing you're doing. So now this goes to how the US government has an over-reliance on private companies. They say, hey, you're a private company, your consumers are buying your product, you have to secure it because it's your product, and if the consumers don't like that your product is insecure, they don't buy it, right? But 3 of the main companies in the United States that sell technology have already been hacked as of 2020, leading to massive data breaches. If you have an iPhone, you may have noticed on your phone that you have, one second, am I running at 9 minutes? If you could unmute yourself, I can't hear you. Oh yeah, my timer just said 9 minutes. I'm so sorry about that. I'll hop back in and I'll just say it was at the 2-minute timer. Sorry about that. So the United States federal government is too reliant on these private companies to secure consumer data. And what this means for you and I is that we are more liable to be attacked and have our personal information stolen, including but not limited to social security numbers, bank account information, personal app passwords that you have protected data on. I got a message last night on my iPhone that said, hey, this password has been compromised, you need to change it. While this may be a nice security feature, what they need to start featuring is protecting the data before it gets hacked. For some reason, all these companies are constantly being hacked. Maybe it's because greedy constituents inside the United States. But I think there's a more sinister output to it. I think there is a government out there, such as China, that is looking for our data and actively trying to influence the American public. When we look at the 2016 election, there was huge talks about how Russia is influencing the United States election. And this was a problem. But we're going to allow Russia or China to have access to all of our consumer information, even allowing companies to sell that consumer information outside of the United States. Now, is that something we should take action to? Of course. That's why this question was posed today. Now, to my second point, what decision the US federal government needs to make in the status quo. And that decision is to allocate more funds to the United States Cybersecurity Fund. And when we look at the defense spending budget, we see, as defense.gov reports, $934 billion. That's $934 billion of taxpayer dollars going to defend our country with hard military assets. Now, of that defense budget, the cybersecurity budget, which is less than 2% of the United States security budget. When we look at this, we see that the security budget is $18.78 billion for cybersecurity spending, and that is the 2021 statistic. That is the spending for next year. That means knowing that all these companies have been hacked in 2020, the United States federal government is not making any steps to ensure this doesn't happen again. Because they say, hey, you're a private company, regulate your own stuff, we're not going to help you with security. But the problem with that is that private companies don't have access to the exact same security devices that the United States federal government had. You know for a fact, if the CIA got hacked by anyone, there would be massive investigations, huge, finding every single person that was available with that. Even going so far as to mark Edward Snowden as a serious criminal inside the United States, and we are hunting for him outside of the United States. Now, when we look at this fact, then we see that the United States is simply just not doing enough to help these private companies out. Because the United States federal government knows when they've been hacked, knows when data's been breached, knows exactly who did it, knows when they did it, knows where they did it, and they can even pull the geographical location of someone who did it. But that's only to protect their hard military assets. They're only spending $18.78 billion because they know all they need to protect is their own stuff. They know they only need to protect the CIA database, the FBI database, the White House database, and all the other databases with classified documents. That's all they're spending their cybersecurity fund on. They're not spending it on private companies. They're not helping the United States consumer. Well, they're helping not get state secrets out, but those are those secrets to hold. What about our secrets that we personally have? No one cares about those. And companies will go so far to auction them off to the highest bidder. Like we saw with TikTok doing, and that's why Trump wants to ban that. Because they were auctioning off our data. They were showing all these kids and all their locations, and they were auctioning that data off to the highest bidder. Now, finally, but most importantly, how not increasing the cybersecurity of the United States can leave us vulnerable. And this is one of the most important points I want to stress in this speech. It is that if the United States were to ever, God forbid, go to war with any other country, they have so much intel on the citizens that they could easily divide us. We already saw this happening in 2016 with Russia interfering in the election, or so-called. But if this was such a big worry on either side of the aisle, someone should be making moves, right? But yet, the 2021 budget is a joke for cybersecurity. $18.78 billion. May I remind you, less than 2% of the $934 billion that the United States has said to spend on cybersecurity. And this is why, Judge, today we need to make a stand to help cybersecurity in the United States. We need to call our politicians in Arizona and say we stand for cybersecurity. Thank you. How was that? Any comments, questions, concerns? Anything you couldn't see?